Welcome to the Monmouth County Virtual Library. We are delighted you are with us today. Please sign up for our electronic newsletter to keep abreast of all of the updates for our future virtual events and information on in-person services. Please share the library with your friends on Facebook and Instagram. The microphones are all muted. If you have any questions, please type them into the chat and we will do our best to address them. Joining us this morning is Chris Zellers. Chris is with the Family and Community Health Sciences Department at Rutgers. And Chris, if you would just say a few things about yourself, and we're eager to get started. Thank you again.
Sure. Thank you for having me. I want to thank the Monmouth County Library as well as the Burlington County Library for hosting me today. I really appreciate you having me. Happy holidays to everyone. My name is Christine Zellers, and I'm with Rutgers Cooperative Extension's Family and Community Health Sciences Department down here in Cape May County. And so my job is to educate all the consumers and community members here in Cape May County. I do some work across the state. I do a lot of presentations on wellness, nutrition, physical activity, sleep, and my goals when teaching are trying to give you healthy alternatives to make the best choices that you can. So making the healthy choice the easy choice for you. I also do some policy work with food as medicine in some of the studies that I do. So I have my colleague Jackie Fuscalero is here with us, and she's going to be doing some of the background things for us, hitting record and letting people in as we move throughout the presentation. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to get them into the chat and I will try to answer them at the end of the presentation, okay? So again, thank you for joining us. Today's topic is holiday meal planning, staying on track. Which I know is not always easy to do. Just a little bit about Rutgers Cooperative Extension for those of you who might not be familiar with us. Rutgers Cooperative Extension is part of the New Jersey Agricultural Experiment Station, and Rutgers is a land-grant university, which means it has cooperative extension services throughout the state of New Jersey. And in each community or each county, we have a cooperative extension office, and our goal is to support the community with educational information that's scientifically research based. Rutgers Cooperative Extension is a partnership between the Board of County Chosen Freeholders, Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, and USDA's National Institute of Food and Agriculture, or NIFA. And we, again, like I said, we have faculty or staff in in all 21 of the 21 New Jersey counties. We're composed of 3 different departments, which include Agricultural and Natural Resources, or A&R, 4-H and Youth Development, which works with the children specifically, and then my department, which is Family and Community Health Sciences, or FCHS. And FCHS provides outreach in New Jersey and beyond on topics related to nutrition, chronic disease prevention, food safety, and overall wellness. We hope that you'll visit our website, and I'll share some information about that at the end of the presentation to get nutrition and wellness related resources. And you can follow us on social media. And at the end of the presentation, like I said, I'll give you all of that information on the websites and the social media handles for you to be able to reach out and find us. As Rutgers is an equal opportunity university, and so we are in compliance with the EOE requirements of the national government. So let's get started. We have 3 objectives for today's presentation, and we're going to first learn about holiday meal nutrition. So I'll give you a little background about that, maybe talk you into planning holiday meals to be a little bit more healthy. Then we're going to talk about holiday meal planning itself. And then I'll give you some ideas for healthy holiday meal swaps so that you have an idea of what might be good alternatives to those traditional dishes that you usually use. You'll notice that Jackie has put in the chat box a link. And if you want to click on that link that's in the chat box, or open your telephone, your smartphone, open the camera app on your phone and hold it up to the screen right now, you'll notice the QR code in the corner there. If you would be so kind to open those apps, or those links, or that app with the QR code, and save it for the end of the presentation so that you can give an evaluation of how you feel the presentation went today and what you enjoyed and give us a little feedback, that would be wonderful. It's always really helpful to have that information as we move forward, as it is information the university uses to help guide our presentations and give us the ability to reach our audiences. So I give it to you now so that you have it for the end of the presentation, and you can complete that for me. I'll thank you in advance for that. So to start, and not to scare you, we're going to talk a little bit about holiday meal nutrition. It's important to remember that the holiday meals are a time to celebrate, sharing time with family and friends, which I know has been difficult the last few years. But you know, if you're eating and you're enjoying the holidays, it's usually only one day a year. And we do have parties around sometimes that we're maybe consuming a little bit more than we normally would, but you really shouldn't beat yourself up about not being as healthy as you usually would be during the year. So that said, you know, if you want to try to be a little bit healthier, make some of those family tradition dinners healthier to keep you feeling better and keep you on track during the holidays. I'll give you some pointers on that. But again, you know, give yourself that one day. Remember, it's only one day. Start, you know, try to stay on track with exercise and things like that. Maybe go for a walk with the family before the big meal or something. But remember, you know, if you're eating a little bit more than you usually do during this time, it's only once a year. So it's just one time. So I'm going to put this out there to guess, to see if anyone, you know, you can kind of come up with the guess in your mind. How many calories do you think the average holiday meal or holiday dinner contains? So the average holiday dinner, it contains 4,000 calories. And I'm sure many of you are aware that, you know, they base the average American diet on a 2,000 calorie a day diet. So the average meal at the holidays is giving us 4,000 calories just for that one meal. So anything else we're eating is kind of piled onto that. So, you know, it's easy to see how eating that very large meal on the holidays might make us loosen our belts a little bit more than usual after sitting down at that meal. But again, it's hopefully only once in a while. Also, those meals, those one holiday meals usually contain about 150 grams of fat. So both are well over the recommended allowances for the day in just one meal. But again, don't get discouraged. We can find some substitutions as we go through this about healthy holiday meal planning and, you know, try to come up with some ideas for the meals that we'll be sharing. I just want to give you some other ideas of what the other classics are containing. And this might, you know, think about this in terms of, you know, we're not trying to scare you or anything. I'm just trying to give you that nutritional background of what's going on with the amounts. I don't like to focus all the time on calories, but this information gives you a little idea. So if you're really trying to watch what you're eating, maybe stick to those favorites and maybe cut back on some of these other ones that might be a little more high calorie to help you save in that area. So pecan pie is 480 calories per slice, which is an eighth of the pie. Pumpkin pie is 320 calories per slice. A cup of stuffing is 250 calories. Now, I have 3 grown boys and they do not eat 1 cup of stuffing. You know, 1 cup of stuffing is not that much. So they're eating way more than that. So again, that 4,000 calorie mark might be a lot higher, and everybody's different. The 2,000 calories that we suggest people, you know, is an average. So some people are, depending on their age, their activity level, their gender, are going to need less than 2,000 calories a day. So that 4,000 calorie meal might be even more on them than somebody that is supposed to eat 2,000 calories. 6 ounces of dark meat is 350 calories. And with gravy, 2 tablespoons of gravy, we take that up to 415 calories. Candied sweet potatoes are 305 calories, and mashed potatoes, 1 cup, are 210 calories. And then finally, our biscuit that we have that are good to enjoy run about 250 calories for just one. So again, just information to give you for a background, and we're going to give you some alternatives as we move through the process here. We're going to take a few minutes and talk about making holiday meal planning realistic to maintain a healthy outlook throughout the holiday season. So, you know, that we're talking about one meal right now, but, you know, we do, like I said, we go out to a lot of parties, and we're entertained at different activities and things like that. Sometimes we're the hostess, sometimes we're going as a guest. So these are just some pointers that you can use throughout the season to kind of maintain that healthy weight and, not put too much on during this one time of the year. So to start with, variety, the more variety we have, the more we're going to eat. So you see this spread out here. I can almost feel myself getting excited, like, oh, look at all this great food. I don't get to eat this year round. So really look at the amount of the variety and realize, before you go, that there's no obligation for you to eat every food that's on the table. You don't have to go through and eat everything that everybody's put out. And the more variety we have, the more chances we have of doing that. So try to decide in advance of filling your plate what your favorites are. Maybe take the plate and walk around like a buffet style like this. Walk around and see what you really want to eat before you pile your plate really high, and stick to those things you really want. Like I said, you're not obligated to eat everything at the meal or party, and you want to save rooms for leftovers. So you can send, if you're hosting, you can send leftovers home with family and friends so you don't overeat in the coming days, or you can save a little bit for yourself and realize, okay, I don't have to eat this all at one meal. So save room for those leftovers as you enjoy those. And nobody really likes that feeling of being super overstuffed. So if you can take a little bit home with you or save a little bit for the next day to enjoy, that's good too. It's important too to get off on the right foot with some nutritious options. So, think about starting the event with healthy appetizers or hors d'oeuvres, and things like hummus, raw veggies, or a green salad with low-fat dressing will fill you up ahead of time and maybe help you to not eat so much during the meal, as long as you're choosing those healthy options. Try to eat less condiments and meats and cheese, or go for the low-fat meat or low-fat cheese, because you're going to cut some calories and fat out that way. Remember moderation and balance when munching at the appetizer table. So take one of the little plates and fill it up and maybe move away and enjoy conversation instead of eating from the dish. If you're eating from the dish, you're probably not keeping track of how much you're eating, and you're, enjoying conversation with family and friends, and you might lose track and fill up really easily before you even sit down for the meal on the appetizers or things that you're eating ahead of the dinner. And you really want to try, again, that small plate's going to help you to limit the amount of food you're eating before the meal starts. And it's going to give you room for what, to enjoy during the dinner and not feel so overfull at the end of the meal. If you're hosting an event, it's an opportunity for you to include things that are lower in calorie foods, like vegetables or lean meats, and put them on the menu. And if you're a guest, you can bring along your own low calorie favorite dish. So then you have something as an option to eat as well. So no matter whether you're going to an event or you're hosting an event, having something on the menu that is an option. Vegetables are always a great option. Salad, things that fill you up with low calorie amounts will help to make you feel not so full when the dinner is complete. All right, so let's talk a little bit about healthy swaps. A lot of times people think that making healthy swaps means cutting the taste or, ruining the meal. And there's a lot of times that family traditions, things have been done a certain way forever. So that's the way we continue to do it. That's the way we enjoy it. I know sometimes my kids will ask me, did you change something with this? Because they think I'm trying to make it healthier when really I didn't. I was doing it that way all the time. But, so you don't always have to tell your guest, I guess, maybe that you swapped out for a healthy option. But doing this, like swapping out for healthy options, can really help to cut calories, sodium, and fat and make it a healthy alternative moving forward. So it might be wise to, instead of trying to make the whole meal healthy all at once, it might be wise to start with a little bit at a time. So maybe pick one dish or add a new dish in, like keep the regular traditional ones your family has, and then add something in that's a little bit healthier as an option too, so people have another choice. And that's going to keep, adding it in and not taking away some of those old favorites or altering them might help people to be a little bit more agreeable to trying them. And then you wean it in, you keep it coming back year after year till that too becomes a family tradition. So here are some pointers on, getting that holiday dish in and making yourself a little less calorie dense, but at the same time, still enjoying the taste. Gravy is really fatty. And as we saw in the beginning slide, it adds a lot of calories just from just 2 tablespoons of it. And it is usually made from the fat of the turkey. So, or even if you buy it jarred, it can be high in fat. So if you're looking for a way to moisten your turkey, try to put the cranberry sauce on top instead of the gravy. So the gravy, the cranberry sauce has cranberries in it. So it's automatically going to be higher in vitamins and minerals than the high fat turkey gravy. And it's going to give you that moisture and make the turkey a little bit moister. So if you skip the gravy, or maybe even trying, instead of pouring it out, a lot of times we have the gravy bowls or the gravy dishes, instead of pouring it on and kind of covering the whole meal, maybe picking part of the meal to put it on, like say just the turkey or just the stuffing, or using a ladle or a tablespoon to dish it out so we know how much we're pouring on. A lot of times, we eat and we're just kind of piling it on, especially during the holidays. You're laughing, you're enjoying family and friends, and you're not really realizing how much you're truly putting on of this of these great tasting foods. So doing something like using a ladle or something to scoop it out is another way to help cut back on the gravy. But that cranberry sauce is a good swap if you're a big cranberry fan like I am. Also, another thing to do, and this is a tip all year round that I use a smaller plate. So our body, there's been research done, our mind thinks that the plate is full if it's smaller. So using a smaller plate, a smaller bowl is another way to kind of swap things out without swapping food out. That makes us think that we're eating a little bit more than what we actually are. And then we're not so full at the end of the meal that we're, unbuckling the jeans. Using plant-based oils like olive oil, canola oil, peanut oil, or sesame oil are a good option to cook with. They're lower in unsaturated fats, which are the healthy fats that we want. So we do need those. Our body needs the unsaturated fat, and it's a good option for us. You can use these healthy oils to make homemade salad dressings, and you can sub them into other recipes as needed. And it's going to give you that healthier option when cooking all year long, not just during the holiday season. So it's good. And especially if you're making a homemade salad dressing, it's a really good option to use olive oil and go that way and be a little bit more healthy. So when you're baking, everybody loves baking. I'm going to give you a few baking tips too. So it's not just the meal. When you're baking with holiday baking recipes that call for chocolate, you can substitute 3 tablespoons of cocoa for every 1 ounce of chocolate in many recipes. So that's going to help you to cut the fat down. You're still going to get the chocolate taste and enjoyment out of it, but it's going to cut it back a little bit there. And again, you don't have to do everything at once, but these are just tips to, as you go along, to try to substitute things out and make things a little bit healthier for you. This is actually one of my favorites, the low sodium broth or low sodium stock for butter. And I do this year round as well. My mother has a dairy allergy, a milk allergy, so she can't have butter. So when we make mashed potatoes, we have to come up with an idea for a substitute. So I've learned to substitute many different things for, many different recipes. I substitute butter with the low sodium broth or the low sodium stock. And the reason I say low sodium is because there can be a lot of salt in these products. So this is a way for you to, be healthier by taking the fat from the butter out, as well as keeping the sodium low. So try using low sodium chicken broth instead of butter in gravies or sauces. And you can even substitute this for your mashed potatoes, like I said, and by substituting it in mashed potatoes and using like a vegetarian broth or stock, then you're making it not only dairy free, but also vegan for those guests that might be coming who might enjoy a vegan lifestyle. Steamed or roasted vegetables add a lot of nutrients and they're relatively low in calories. So they're a good way all year long, not just at the holidays, to fill up and reduce calories, reduce fat and sodium. That's provided that we're not adding a lot of fat to them or, butter, sodium, things like that. A lot of the traditional holiday recipes, collard greens and things like that call for, different things in there that, been passed down from generations. So taking some of these alternative ways to prepare the dishes by adding different things to them might cut that down, and you might find that your family really enjoys them too. So try adding vegetables to your holiday plate just like you would anytime. The recommendation is always to make half of your plate fruits and vegetables at every meal all year long. But you can do the same at the holidays. And vegetables are full of fiber. Fiber is something that Americans don't get enough of in our diet. So it's recommended that we increase our fiber intake, and eating vegetables at the holidays is a great way to do that. They're going to help fill us up. Again, fill us up on low calorie food, and they're going to be good for preventing overeating because they fill us up and they give us that sensation of being full. So try swapping out the high calorie foods like breads and stuffings, and be cautious about adding butter, like I said, or too much salt. Just make them nutritious and tasty on their own. And I'm going to mention in a few minutes about substituting salt items with herbs. It's a great way, especially, a lot of the fall and winter vegetables, like the root vegetables that we enjoy at the holidays, are really good to have fresh herbs like rosemary and thyme on them. So it's good to add those things to them and give a nice little flavor. Roast them in a little olive oil. I like to toss the different vegetables in a little olive oil, roast them in the oven for a little while. You can even roast in the air fryer after you toss them in olive oil, and then top them with a couple of tasty spices like rosemary or garlic or thyme. This one's another a good one for baking. When you bake cakes and muffins, you can substitute oil in a recipe. So take out that vegetable oil and put applesauce in instead. That was a tongue twister. Applesauce gives us a nice moist texture to the cakes, and it does it without all the fat. So when substituting applesauce in baking for oil, the ratio is typically 1-to-1. So if the recipe calls for a 1/4 cup of oil, you simply put in a 1/4 cup of applesauce. This works perfectly with muffins and quick breads, and it's a little, adds a little bit of sweetness because of the applesauce, and then you get, you're getting the nutrients from the applesauce as well as less fat from substituting out the oil. This is another one that I use often in everyday cooking. You can substitute a can of evaporated milk in recipes that call for cream. So an easy way to make your holiday baking a little bit healthier and lower in calories and more nourishing is to take heavy cream out, and then instead use the evaporated milk. You can also substitute low fat or fat-free milk for heavy cream, which I do a lot when I'm cooking. Just be aware that if you're doing that, then obviously the cream is thicker than the fat-free milk or the low-fat milk. So you might need to add a little flour, or if you're cooking gluten-free, you would add a little cornstarch to the recipe to thicken up that milk. And just to give you a little tiny bit of information about milk, the differences between whole milk and fat-free milk are simply the fat. So there's a lot more fat in whole milk than there is in fat-free milk. And you're still getting the same amount of calcium and nutrient in the low fat or fat-free milk. You're just losing that fat, that whole fat. So it's a good way to substitute that out, is by substituting the cream, heavy cream, for either evaporated milk or low fat or fat-free milk. cheeses. This is one of my weaknesses, right? So you see the beautiful, you have the beautiful cheese layout. It looks really yummy here. That, we can munch on. Again, take the little plate, because I am very guilty of this, just going back and, continually grabbing cheese. But a good way to substitute out, or have a little swap out, is to offer low fat cheese at your event, or bring it along. Like I said, if you are the person that is in bringing something and you're going to take something to your hostess, using low fat cheese, either in a cheese log, in an appetizer, or as a side dish, can actually cut up to 36 grams of fat from the dish and 320 calories for every 8 ounces. So it's pretty significant swap out. And again, it's the same as with the milk. You're not losing the calcium, you're just really losing the fat. And I know in the grocery store, there's usually options for, especially with the shredded cheese, they'll have the skim. Like if you're buying shredded mozzarella, you'll have the skim fat-free or low fat option to purchase as well. And if you're putting it in a dish, you really aren't going to notice the difference there. So that low fat cheese is a good swap for everybody to have. Another good swap is to go with Greek yogurt versus mayonnaise or sour cream. So make the dips or the appetizers and side dishes using a blend of Greek yogurt and fat-free sour cream, if you like. And this cuts over, by blending the two, by having a fat-free sour cream and a Greek yogurt, it cuts over 1,000 calories and 132 grams of fat per cup of mayonnaise. So by cutting that mayonnaise out, you're doing that. It still has a nice creamy effect. And if you're using Greek yogurt, there's actually protein in there. So you have a little bit of a nutritional benefit in addition. And, it goes without saying, I think everybody's pretty much doing this anyway, is chopping up veggies. It's always fun to have chips and things like that, but give your guests, or if you're bringing it, give your guests, your hostess, the opportunity to put out that, chopped veggies like red peppers, green peppers, carrots, broccoli, all those fun things that you can put out for people to dip these great substituted yogurt, Greek yogurt, and low-fat mayonnaise dips that you've made with. So I mentioned earlier, I was going to talk a little bit about herbs. And so the recommended daily allowance of sodium for adults is 2,300 milligrams. And the CDC estimates that the average American is getting about 3,400 milligrams a day. So we're getting significantly more salt in our diet than what the recommendations are on average. Obviously, we can read when we're checking to see on an everyday basis, when we're checking to see how much sodium's in something, we can look at the milligrams on the food label next to sodium to decide how much salt is in there. But in addition to what we're eating from packaged products, like chips or other things you might be eating out of the package, we also add salt to a lot of dishes as we cook. And that can raise our sodium amount without us realizing it. When we were doing in-person lessons, one of the activities I used to do was we have like food demonstration food. So I'd make a steak dinner, put it on the plate and cover it with cellophane or, saran wrap, and tell people to salt the dish like they would if it was their meal. And then we would pour that into a tablespoon to see how much they were eating. And a lot of times, just in one meal, the salt that people were adding was their entire day's worth. So, 2,300 milligrams worth. So we want to make sure 2,300 milligrams is about a tablespoon. And we want to make sure that we're not eating too much sodium. High levels of sodium can lead to, chronic diseases like hypertension and heart disease. So we want to take measures to reduce sodium intakes to prevent those chronic diseases. So before you add salt to a dish, taste it. It might be already salty enough. And, when you sit down at the dinner table, instead of grabbing the shakers right away and adding, start off by tasting everything a little bit at a time and seeing if you can forego the salt. As we get older, we tend to crave a little bit more salt as our taste buds get a little duller. So then we add it even more frequently. So it's good to try to avoid that. Another way to try to spice up your dishes is to try using other things as you're cooking, like basil, oregano, and parsley, or maybe an Italian seasoning blend, and that will spice things up. You can even put those things in the water as you boil for pasta, you know, the Italian seasonings in the pasta water, and that'll give a little bit of a different taste to it versus adding the salt, and it'll cut back on the salt. You know, that's another place we don't realize that we put salt in to the pasta water as we're cooking sometimes, and that can add salt to our dishes. Also, we can get it from canned products, you know, like canned vegetables. So one way to avoid getting too much sodium from canned vegetables is to rinse them off once you get them in the colander. So you're rinsing off that sodium, or you're rinsing off the agent for storing them that might have sodium in them, or purchase low sodium canned vegetables, so that way you're avoiding extra salt that way. I mentioned before, rosemary and thyme are wonderful additions to fall vegetables. They're great on roasted potatoes, turnips, or carrots. You can put things like rosemary and thyme in about 20 minutes before the end of cooking. They're a little hardier, those herbs, but things that are more leafy, like the basil in the picture here, you want to add that at the end. And, you know, making homemade soups or other things, these are great ways too to spice them up and not have to add salt. So if the recipe calls for dried or fresh herbs, there is a conversion method to that. So a lot of times I know I'll be cooking and they'll say, oh, we need dry herbs. And I'll say, oh, I only have fresh. So if that's the case, the conversions are as followed. You have 1 tablespoon of finely cut herbs that are fresh is the equivalent of 1 teaspoon crumbled dry herbs, or 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of ground dried herbs. So if you use those conversions, you know, you're cooking and you have the ground versus the crumbled or whatever, that's the conversion. So again, 1 tablespoon of finely cut fresh herbs is equal to 1 teaspoon of crumbled dry herbs, or equal to 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of ground dried herbs. So there are the differences on those conversions. All right, I brought this up early in the presentation, and I wanted to give you the opportunity to pull that up again. If you joined us a little late, if you could go to the link that Jackie has put in the chat and click on that, that'll take you right to the evaluation. Or if you could also open your if you just grab your phone, you can't see it because I have the background on, grab your phone and open it to your camera app, and then you just hold your phone in front of that QR code, that little box there, then that will open it right to the link and take you to the link to do the evaluation there. If you could do that, that would be wonderful. I'd really appreciate it. All right. So I just wanted to wrap up a little bit and go through. We'll see if there's any questions that anybody has about making these healthy swaps. I know there's a ton of them out there. And like I said, maybe do a little bit at a time or introduce a new dish. I know I've started introducing new dishes. We have those old favorites, you know, there's stuffing. One of the ones that we make for Christmas is the pineapple stuffing, which I call a heart attack on a plate. You know, it's not the healthiest of dishes. So because of that, I've tried adding some roasted vegetables in as well, so people have an option for what to choose. Don't beat yourself up. It's only once a year. So if you can maintain a healthy eating pattern the rest of the time, then that's fine. But if you can make those gradual changes to reduce things like, you know, fat, calories, sodium, sugar, it's going to make it healthier for you overall in the long run. So just take small steps to making those swaps add up to, you know, better health by reducing all those different things that, you know, they can lead to cardiovascular diseases. There's been a lot of studies out recently, and I've heard it in the news recently about, you know, an increase of people having heart attacks this time of year, and they're not really sure if it's because of the really hefty meals we're eating, or because of the stress, or, you know, snow not here, but lifting snow to shovel snow. So they're not sure why it is that there's an increase at this time of year, but it's always good to be safe and enjoy things in moderation with, tips like smaller plates and eating more vegetables. It's always good to have those vegetables in there too, as well. So finally, I promised you that I would give you my information. So just a little background. Like I said, I'm from Cape May County. So my email address is there. If you have any questions for me following the email or following the presentation, you're welcome to email me. We're always here to help you and answer questions to the community. We also have a website for Cape May County, which is that first website that's listed out there. And that has all of my presentations on there. There's some recordings on there. So if you're interested in watching perhaps one of the other recordings that I've done or other presentations, you're welcome to do that. We have the FCHS website. That is the third website on the way down. And that website has a lot of great recipes on it. It has fact sheets on it. It has wonderful things like how to build a better salad, which is a great thing for the new year as you're taking your lunch maybe to work. So, there's a lot of really good information on that website that I encourage you to check out. And then there's also the Rutgers Cooperative Extension website. That website has a lot of information about gardening and all of our departments there, if you're interested. And then finally, my Facebook handles that are listed there for Rutgers in Cape May County, as well as the FCHS in Cape May County that are there. So I'm going to check and see. Thank you for attending. Somebody said thank you for the information. So thank you for attending. I hope that was beneficial, and I hope you can take some time. I tried to give you things that I know we're close to the end of or close to the holidays now. So I tried to give you some things that would be, able to do right away. So, getting some vegetables in for the holidays, or, subbing out the mashed potatoes with the chicken or vegetable stock, those type of things. So anybody have any questions before we sign off? I saw something about Greek yogurt in here. Yeah, so Greek yogurt does have a good amount of protein, and Greek yogurts, I use Greek yogurt every morning. I start my day with my Greek yogurt. It has a lot of protein for you. You can buy the fat-free or the low-fat version of it. So it is, Greek yogurt is a good option for you to use to get protein, healthy protein into your diet. A lot of times protein gets a bad name for you, a bad name because, it's animal protein, but yeah, the Greek yogurt's a good recommendation, and it's good, subbing it out for mayonnaise again is going to cut a lot of that fat out of there for us and make it a healthier option. You wanted hold on one second, the ratio to cocoa to chocolate. I got to go back through my notes for that one. I don't remember off the top of my head. Oh, sorry. 3 tablespoons of cocoa for every 1 ounce of chocolate is a substitute. 3 ounces. So yeah. 3 tablespoons for every ounce for chocolate. Okay. I hope that helps. And saying thank you to the library. Thank you, Jackie. Jackie put the 3 tablespoons in there. Thank you. Yeah. And with it, when I substitute for the mashed potatoes with the stock, or when I do it for anything, I kind of, go by eye contact, because it's going to depend on how many potatoes you have in there and how much you want, how creamy or chunky you want your potatoes. So, all right. I'm glad everybody enjoyed it. And like I said, that my email address, I'll put that into the, I'm going to put that in case anybody has any questions about follow-up afterwards. You're welcome to reach out to me. And I, again, thank both the Monmouth County and the Burlington County Library for hosting. I appreciate it.